Dementia is the name for a range of conditions that cause damage to the brain. This damage can affect memory, thinking, language, and the ability to carry out everyday tasks. I've always been fascinated about how people living with dementia can connect through music, and I have been privileged to see this in my work as a music therapist. In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone. And I've seen this in my work, where people at the later stages of dementia are not able to communicate verbally, but that they are still able to engage in music, whether that's tapping their foot, playing an instrument, vocalizing, or even singing the words of a familiar song. Had a little drink about an hour ago, and it's gone right to my head. Matter where I go, where the land of sea or from, you will always hear me singing this song. Show me the way to go.
I'm Hilary Moss. I'm the course director of the MA Music Therapy at the University of Limerick. We know that music accompanies us throughout our lives at all the significant moments. So, from our earliest moments of birth, we respond to the pitch of our parents' voices, right to the end of life. So, beyond brain damage and in the later stages of dementia, we know that people can still respond to music. When they can't have a conversation with you, people can sing a song, recall song lyrics, even still play instruments that they learnt during their life. There are many different ways of working using music for health and well-being. Music therapy is a clinical profession. We are professionals allied to speech and language therapy and occupational therapy, and we work on clinical goals with people with dementia. There are many colleagues who work alongside us in terms of music and health practitioners, choir directors, performers, composers, and we all use music in different ways to support people with dementia to access their health, well-being, and to be creative.
My name is Bill Ahessy. I'm a senior music therapist working in older person services in the HSE. My work and research in this area over the last 12 years has involved supporting people in the community and residential care with a range of age-related conditions, including dementia. From the research, we know that the parts of the brain associated with musicality are often preserved in dementia, and I've seen firsthand through my work how people, right up until the end stages of the condition, can engage musically and, more importantly, can connect to others through music and singing. If we think about the collection of songs from our own lives that hold meaning and emotion for us, each of us has a unique song print. And the reminiscence bump is a concept of how memories from our early years are more vividly remembered than later years. And it's really at this time that our brains bind with the music we listen to from young adolescence and young adulthood, and this connection is not lost in later years. And that's why song singing is such a powerful tool for music therapists and for people caring for those with dementia. Song singing can really promote identity, it can promote interaction with others, and can support people with anxiety and agitation. It's important to note that singing significant songs can bring up difficult or painful memories, so knowing the person, their song print, and providing a space for emotional expression is key.
For me, that's the fabulous thing about music, because if you really listen to it, and if you're someone that tries to suppress your feelings and you listen to a song and it brings back a memory, and whether it makes you angry or mad or sad or glad or cry or happy, it's doing a wonderful job, because it's like a release button that you have that you don't know.
As a music therapist, I work as part of a multidisciplinary team. A system of referral, assessment, treatment, and evaluation shapes the clinical intervention. When working with people living with dementia, goals might include providing emotional support, increasing socialization and interaction, stimulating cognition, facilitating reminiscence, or supporting meaningful communication and self-expression.
So tapping into people's musical interests is a way of tapping into them as an individual person.
A very important aspect of the work is also supporting carers and staff. Song singing, movement to music, songwriting and improvisation are some of the methods that we use in music therapy in dementia care. Improvisation is the way in which we connect with the person through spontaneous music making with instruments or the voice. Improvisation bypasses affected areas of the brain, allowing the person to engage in a musical dialogue. It supports self-expression and attunement and strengthens the person's sense of self.
I think the whole area of creativity and aging is looking at ability, not disability. So looking at the resources people have and what they can still do. And I have worked with people with dementia and their families and found that sometimes sharing music together, singing songs together, talking about musical memories is something that a person with advanced dementia can still do when there's so much they can't do.
There is a wealth of international evidence to support music therapy in dementia care, and a number of Irish studies have highlighted music therapy as a valuable psychosocial intervention in promoting positive mood and engagement, stimulating cognition, increasing communication, reducing agitation, and improving people's overall quality of life. Music has the capacity to support the person with dementia throughout their experience.
There are little things that we can do to help.
I was delighted to have the opportunity to speak to Kevin Quaid, who is a member of the Irish Dementia Working Group and is living with Lewy body dementia. Kevin kindly shared his experiences of living with Lewy body dementia and how he uses music and technology to help his symptoms.
About 4.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. And I said, there's something wrong here, so my memory is fine. And I was like everyone, I thought dementia meant a bad memory, but not in the case of Lewy body dementia. Memory is not the problem. I suppose the biggest single symptom of Lewy body dementia are, number one, hallucinations, but fear. It's unreal, but it's so real to me. And the worst part about Lewy body dementia is the nighttime. When you see me out, I'm good. You will never see me when I'm bad, because when I'm bad, I'm in bed. I can't walk. I can't talk. I'm not making sense. There's times I can hardly see. There's times I can hardly hear, and that's when it gets right bad. The worst thing I can have for my head is quietness. To lie in a room and it's completely quiet is a scary place. So my iPhone is my best friend at night, and I'll either watch like The Big Bang Theory or Fools and Horses or a comedy or something funny, but I'd listen to an awful lot of music. And if I come out of a horrific dream, my mind doesn't want me to go back into it. So I could spend 6 hours wandering the phone looking for music. When you wake at night and you don't know who you are, that's the frightening part of it. But if I can get my wits about me and stick in the little earbuds and put on a bit of music or something, like once I just hit YouTube, the top 20 things that I like come up on it. And once I hit one of them, I have music or I have comedy or I have something that will just bring me back and bring me around and bring me back into reality again. And there's times I forget about the iPhone. I have it up like that next to me in the bed, in the bedside locker. Mm-hmm. So as to when I look, I never turn it off. It's never off. That once I cop it and once I touch it, that it will light up and I'll see something that I recognize or I need. It's voices I'll recognize. Like it's Helena's voice I'll recognize. I won't recognize her face, I'll recognize her voice. And it's the same with music. It's the same with a program. Once I need to recognize something to bring me back to being a normal human being instead of someone that's being ravaged by this Lewy body dementia.
We know that due to the impact of COVID-19, many services had to move online, including general dementia support services, music therapy, and also general music activities for people living with dementia and their carers. I spoke to Sharon and Sadhbh from Embrace Music and also Marion McEvoy, musical director of the Rising Voices Dementia Choir, about how they adapted to working online and some of the benefits and limitations of using technology to connect with people living with dementia.
I'm Marion McEvoy. I'm the musical director of Rising Voices Dementia Choir, which is based in Finglas in the Odenswood Daycare Centre. The choir was founded by Paula Birmingham, who's the manager of Odenswood, in September of 2019. And we had our first public performance in February of this year, just before the COVID situation happened. So we were lucky enough to get to perform our piece, Remembering the Royal, which was about the Theatre Royal in the Mansion House in February. So everybody was terribly disappointed when we were no longer allowed to meet and to rehearse, and our plans for further performances were put on hold. We were then thrown into a panic as to what were we going to do, because we had by now realised how important the choir was to our members and the huge benefits they got from it, both socially and from the point of view of mental and creative stimulation. So initially I felt, well, what I can do right now is I can put together some sing-alongs on YouTube for them as a resource that they can dip into again and again if they wish. I put together several half-hour videos. I called them the Fireside Sing-Along, and I videoed them in my kitchen with the fire lighting, and as I say, each about half an hour long. So that was quite popular, and provided we had a resource that they could dip into again with the sing-alongs. We have our WhatsApp calls, which keeps us in touch live. And we had our challenge in the absence of being able to put on a performance with our virtual choirs. I made a conducting video, so I conducted with the backing track behind me, and we circulated this video to our piano player Brian Inglesby, and to all our members and some of our volunteer singers as well. And the drill was that they would listen to this with headphones on one device and then record themselves on a separate device, and send the video to me via WhatsApp. Now, you know, people could choose to send it what way they like, but WhatsApp seemed to be the simplest way to do it, and it was the platform that seemed most accessible to people. Members were absolutely delighted when they saw it. The feedback we got was, oh, it sounds like they're singing in the same room. They got to see all their friends on the screen, and it gave them a great lift.
So with Embrace Music, I suppose the main tool that we have used to stay connected with older people in general and those living with dementia would be live streaming, and that would be on Facebook Live. One of the immediate benefits of using Facebook as a platform was that so many people are already familiar with it, are already on it. A lot of older people have a presence on Facebook, and certainly a lot of nursing homes have a presence on Facebook. So very quickly, they found us and we found them, and we had a small community looking in each Friday, and it grew week by week. And we were really delighted with that. It was able to be interactive. People gave us poetry, poetry requests, song requests, we did birthday greetings, people could communicate with each other in the comments, and it was lovely. I suppose in terms of feedback that we've had from people caring for those living with dementia, live streaming has the ability to inject some routine into the week. So if activities have fallen away from them like they have for everybody during the pandemic, that weekly reliable routine is something that really provides structure for them in their week and that they find really enjoyable. I then suppose other elements of feedback that we've had is if there has been an element of a session that they've particularly enjoyed, they can go back and look at it again. Certainly we've had feedback from one carer who regularly shows re-shows the videos to her husband, perhaps as part of their nighttime routine, would go directly to a song that they had enjoyed. And I suppose there's not very many benefits of something happening via live stream rather than in a room, in a presence with people. But maybe one of the only benefits would be that it can be rewatched again, that you can go back to your favourite parts. And this is something that we are definitely thinking about now and has challenged our thinking on our work as facilitators in general. We kind of wonder now, why weren't we live streaming all along? Because certainly for people living with dementia within our choirs, their journey with us sometimes comes to a very, very sudden stop because they're just too far along their journey to come to choir anymore. And we now think, why have we never thought of live streaming? Because it could keep them connected. It could maybe perhaps just prolong their engagement and their connectivity with the choirs a little longer.
The most powerful technological tools, certainly during the pandemic, have been WhatsApp, YouTube and Facebook Live as well. If we've taken anything away from this, it's that probably if you want to help an older person stay connected with technology, probably the best thing that you can do is give them a smartphone and just install WhatsApp on it, because it means that you can share things with them via WhatsApp. They don't need to know how to use Facebook. They don't need to know how to use YouTube. You can just share a Facebook video or a YouTube playlist in there, and all they need to do is be able to click it. We have found YouTube brilliant for reminiscence. Again, this has all just come up during the pandemic, but each week we make a playlist on YouTube for the choirs based on a different theme, and then we share it in their WhatsApp group, and it gets them chatting about music and it gets them listening to songs that maybe they haven't heard in a while. So YouTube has been brilliant, but again, it comes back to being able to share them on WhatsApp so that people don't need to know how to use the rest of the technology, they just need to click the link. And of course WhatsApp is brilliant as well because not only can you ring people, but you can video call them. So for people who can't get on Zoom, WhatsApp might be a better way to keep connected in that way, in that visual way.
Quite quickly then we did start to realise the limitations as well, in that not everybody is on Facebook, not everybody has a smart device to get on Facebook. So we set about maybe putting together a little education tool. So we did a little graphic just to let people know that they didn't have to be on Facebook, they didn't have to have a Facebook account to watch the sessions. They had to have a Facebook account to watch them live, but they could be watched back by anybody. So through sharing that through WhatsApp groups that we have, connecting older people in choirs that we're involved with, we were just able to gently let people know, no, just because you're not on Facebook doesn't mean you can't access this. But of course, for the ultimate interaction, or to get the most out of the sessions, you need to have a Facebook account, because then you can interact live.
We put a lot of thought into whether we wanted to use Zoom or not. For the people that it has worked for, it's been a lifeline, and we've been doing weekly what we call virtual coffee mornings since April at our usual rehearsal time, and particularly for people who live alone, it's been great because they can see the faces of everyone else that's there and it makes them feel connected. But to be honest, there were people that just weren't able to as well, and that was a real source of frustration for them.
I would like to be able to maybe use Zoom to include more people in those weekly sessions, Zoom or some other platform, because the big limitation with WhatsApp is you can only have 8 people on a call. So to be able to use a platform that could accommodate more people would be good. But this would mean reaching out to carers, whether in a care home setting or at home, to that they'd be able to use the platform. The devices that people have in some cases weren't suitable, so this cuts them off from it. So access to suitable devices that would be able to operate these platforms, I think is important.
That has been a stumbling block for us, and certainly something that we would think about going ahead into 2021 is, number one, the empowerment of having a smart device, a smartphone or a device, the empowerment that gives to somebody. But then also the crucial bit is teaching them how to use it, installing things like WhatsApp and certainly Facebook as well.
Can I talk about people with dementia? But everyone that has a carer, once the carer knows how to use a mobile phone or a laptop or an iPad, then they can set it up for the person with dementia for that 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month or whatever.
People in care homes are the ones who are missing out the most on this, in my experience. The limitations on the technology, the access that people have to technology, and just the know-how. I mean, some very basic training would, I think, help care staff to be able to facilitate this better.
Thankfully, globally, with the introduction of the vaccine, we can finally see an end to this pandemic. However, our interviewees have noticed some benefits of working online.
I think COVID has taught us that, especially for our dementia cafes, that going forward, we're going to combine the two anyway. Like that we can still have the face-to-face, but maybe we might try and organize a big screen or something. I don't know how, but I think there's a lot of people that were missing out because they couldn't travel. They started a new dementia cafe, a virtual one again in Tralee. There was a guy from Ballybunnon at it who couldn't have come to Tralee. Did they not have it? Do we not have the Zoom meetings? So like, it's like, as I said, COVID has brought very, very few pluses, but this really has been a massive success for people with dementia.
I think it's really important that we investigate and develop online music therapy services for people living with dementia, and there are a few reasons for this. Firstly, there is an equality of access. So if you live in a large urban area, you are more likely to access music therapy as part of a team of care for people with dementia. People living in rural, isolated areas really deserve the same access to treatment, and we're very keen to develop online services to meet that need and to support people living at home. Secondly, people who maybe are less likely to go to day centres or daycare or support services may be needing the benefits of music and other therapies in their home. We all want to remain at home as long as possible and to be cared for at home. So I think it's really important to develop music therapy online to reach people who are not the ones who want to go out and socialise, but who may have difficulties at home with their family carer that can be eased and supported through music. It's really important that trained, qualified music therapists help people to choose the right music at the right time, to help people cope with anxiety, with stress, with insomnia, with agitation, for example, and to build quality moments in their lives. And to that end, I think it's really important that we look at how music therapists can work online to be the most accessible that we can be to people who might need to use our service.
We can see that technology and music can improve the lives of people living with dementia and their family caregivers. I am really interested in how we can use software and pre-existing technology to provide online music therapy for people living with dementia and their family caregivers. Through technology, we may be able to provide person-centred care and improve the quality of life for people living with dementia and their caregivers. Most importantly, it will enable us to reach people who may not be able to attend face-to-face services due to geographical location, if they're living in a rural or isolated area, whether they have reduced mobility or whether perhaps they don't have reliable access to transport.
You have a very sad life if you don't have music in it.